I'm on. I can't talk.
All right, we're gonna pull this down. Mayor Moore, are you able to hear me?
Now I can hear.
All right, can you please turn your volume up because we're having trouble hearing you, ma'am?
I'm sorry. What did you say?
All right, I don't hear you at all, Miss Mayor.
I'm on.
And I know that is hard to do. So we'll continue to work on
Okay, so
getting
what
this
do I need to
connection
do?
together. We're so glad that you have come in with us on today. And Rob, I'm not exactly sure what the issue is. She should be plugged directly in to our soundboard, but she's going to go out and come back in. And so as they get in here, we get this together. We're going to make this happen. In the meantime, as I cough, Rob, I'm thinking about everything that is going on in our community with COVID. Come on, family. We got to have a real village conversation. I thank you, Donna. She says that she hears us both. Thank you very much for that feedback. She's coming back in. Maybe it was just an issue of her needing to connect her mic and her earpieces. Can you hear me now, Mayor Moore?
I don't know what's going on.
And we are yet unable to hear her. Let me, Mayor Moore. Here she is trying to be fancy with those ear pods. I see you out there, Mayor Moore. We can hear both on here. All right, awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in and letting me hear that you guys can hear both of them. But the problem is I cannot hear her in my ears. And so if I can't hear her, I can't get the answer to the question that I'm asking.
I can't hear it, then it's not going in the air on my end.
There's a problem. Right, they're hearing us on the social stream, but they're not hearing us in the mix. So we want to make sure that we hear everything that we're going to talk about today. But for those of you who are here, the COVID is going. Rob, why don't you give a shout out to the people? I jumped right into business. I saw the mayor. I got excited.
Oh, that's okay.
Got nervous because the mayor's on the line.
I work behind the scenes. This is no big deal. Hello, Straight Talk audiences. Happy to be here and do my thing.
All right. So we are we're waiting for Tim to come in, and I'm not sure what's going on. Mayor Moore, you just keep talking, and whenever I hear you or whenever we hear you, we'll pick you up and we'll just go full steam with the conversation.
Come to the show that should call in, and then we can take them from the phone.
Absolutely. And that may be a better way to do it. I know that they wanted to see you, Mayor Moore, but you may need to just give us a call. And if you call in, that may work just as well. And Rob, those numbers are for her. I'll send it to
989-7107.
Okay, give them one more time, Rob.
921-7107.
All right, 989-921-7107. So if we can't get you to come in and hear you clear, we'll just ask you to just call in and we'll talk to you via phone. Everybody sees your illustrious face, your beautiful face, and maybe you can just get on your phone and call in. I don't know if you're using your phone as the video camera, but whichever way that works. All right, but Rob, the numbers are going absolutely out of this world here in the city of Saginaw. I was looking and I was just checking, where are we? What code are we? Orange, yellow, green, blue, red. And we are like the reddest of reds that you can possibly be here as it relates to our COVID numbers. Numbers
have keep fluctuating up and down this whole thing. Sometimes we're good, other times we're down.
And so we have to be aware. And one of the things that our Chris Harrington, who is our chief medical officer for the county, she was saying the moment that she announces that we're doing better, there is then a surge. But this is a little bit different, Rob. We saw, and I don't know if everyone knows this or is aware of this, but I do see Tim Morales. He's coming in. He just needs to connect his camera. But we see so many things that are going on. And let me see if I can pull Tim into the stream. Tim, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Tim, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
That's probably Brent. Tim is in the stream. Tim, are you there?
Yes, 107.
Yep, I'm
That's
here.
our
Can you
mayor.
hear me?
That's Mayor Moore.
This is me. This is me. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I had it working, but it won't. I can't hear.
Okay.
We got you, Madam Mayor.
We got you, and we're just trying to work on Tim really quick. Tim, I see you in audio only. I'm not sure if that's intended to be that way, but can you hear us, Tim?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Tim is having some issues coming in.
Tim should call too and put them on the party line here.
Tim can hear you, Kareem. It's great that they can hear me, but if I can't hear them, I really don't know what they're asked. Their answers to the questions are for us to begin that conversation. So they can hear Tim, Rob. We just can't hear Tim in here. So there's an issue with what's going on in terms of that loop through. So, okay. So there's another call, Rob, that's coming.
Yeah, I know.
All right. So I wanted to make sure. I need us to make sure that we are, Mayor Moore, we do have you online though, right?
Yes.
Okay. So while you're here, why don't we begin the conversation with you?
Do we have Tim on the line too?
And Tim is he's dropped out of the steam. I do have, Tim, are you here?
He's on the phone.
Yeah, I just called in.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tim. This is so much easier, I guess, this way for those of you who haven't hit that horse and buggy and to catch up here. But I want to thank you guys for coming in. I want to thank you for your time and attention. We've been planning to make this happen. And for those of you who are listening, we have Tim Morales, and I think it's going to now probably cause an issue for those, maybe not on the social media stream. If someone's out there, Yvonne, I see you in the stream. If you're out there, can you hear the conversation that we're having because they're no longer in the stream, but hopefully you can hear it through the board. Well, I'm glad that you guys are here. There has been so much conversation, so much talk, so much information, a lot of misinformation about what's going on with the American Rescue Plan Act, the funds that were coming into the city of Saginaw. And Mayor, I guess I'll start with you. As we look at what is going on, why don't you kind of lay the land for us in terms of what these ARPA funds are? And then we'll go to Tim and we'll ask our city manager if he will give us an understanding of what those funds can be used for and kind of where we are as a city.
Well, Saginaw was awarded $52 million. With the $52 million, it was to restore lost revenue to the city of Saginaw. So we began making phone calls, we did surveys, asking the citizens what they wanted. The money can be used for certain stuff, and Tim will expound on that a little better than me because he's more up on it than I am. But the money is money to help our city, bring our city back.
Okay, now you use the term, it is to take care. I want to make sure that we phrase this correctly. The funds can be used for the purpose of kind of correcting some of the loss that the city has. Am I correct? Is that what you're saying, Mayor?
That's what I'm saying. The money was sent to the city of Saginaw. So the city of Saginaw has to be made whole. Then with that, we plan to, the remaining portion of the money will be spent in the community to better our community, to move it to the next level.
Okay, I think that's important for us to understand because I think a lot has been missed in terms of those conversations. I think that we were excited hearing that there's $52 million coming to Saginaw. What are we going to do with it? But there is a provision in there that means that through the pandemic, all of the things that the city was doing, I think there's probably a plethora of things that you guys were continuing services when monies weren't coming in necessarily, putting monies out there to make sure that services continued. So you're saying that there's a portion of those funds that is earmarked for the purpose of making the city whole. And when we talk about making whole, we're talking about any losses that the city occurred during this period of the pandemic during 2020. These funds were a portion of these were earmarked for that purpose. Am I correct?
It is also earmarked beyond 2020.
Okay.
Because it is the lost revenue that we are experiencing as a result of COVID.
Okay, so when we say beyond 20, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, and well, Tim is going to elaborate more, I'm sure. He's going to help me out on it, but in 2016.
Okay. So Tim is he's our city manager. He's the number man. He makes sure that we have checks and balances. The numbers add up. Assets, liabilities, income, outcome. He is our man. Tim, thank you for being with us on today. And so, as the mayor said, a portion of this is to make sure that the city is made whole. What exactly does that mean? For a lot of people that are hearing this conversation and hearing you all speak for the first time concerning this is very different. What does it mean when we're saying that a portion of these funds are to make the city whole? And as the mayor said, it's not just for 2020, but it's for a period of years or period of time that there may have been a backfall or a shortcoming of funds. What exactly does that mean, Tim?
So there are 4 main components that are eligible uses for ARPA funds. And the mayor is referring to the revenue replacement provision, which is one of the first ones listed. And it's revenue replacement for the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue due to the COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent fiscal year prior to the emergency. And that's kind of a long definition, but
in layman's terms, excuse me, city manager, in layman's terms, for those who are listening, what can you break that down into words that we can chew and take away with us?
Yeah, so there's a formula that we have to use to calculate revenue loss for the period that ARPA covers, which is a 4-year period, 2020, 2021, 22 through 24. So they're 4 years. And there's a baseline revenue from 2019 that we have to use in the formula. And then you go through each year, and we'll probably do it on an annual basis. The formula illustrates your lost revenue portion. So we have a draft of that for the first year, and it's we're waiting for the final rules to come out, but that's probably $4.5 to $5 million for that first year of lost revenue. And what that means is it doesn't mean that goes into the city coffers or into our fund balance. That lost revenue is still governed by the ARPA rules in that we have to expend those funds. So we have to expend those by 2026. So we have this period of time that we have to spend them through, and typically it's services that the city normally performs. There's only 2 restrictions. You can't use it to offset tax reductions or delay a tax increase, and you can't use it to pay down a pension fund or any debt that you already have.
Okay. So that makes sense. So when we look at the conversation that's been having, the city of Saginaw has $52 million. The reality of the matter is, and yes, we got $52 million, but we also have to take in the shortfall that the city has had, not just for 2020, but for a 4-year period from 2020 to, you said 2024, or is it 2026? Let me make sure I get that right.
It's through January 1st, 2024, I believe. It's a 4-year period, but then we have longer to expend all of the ARPA funds. Okay. All ARPA funds have to be allocated by the end of 2024.
Okay, so we got 22. They have to be allocated, not necessarily spent by 2024, but they have to be allocated, spent by 2026. That's correct, right?
Right.
Okay, so Tim, yep. What kinds of funds, what kinds of things are these funds able to be used once we get past what the city is owed in terms of those numbers? And I got to ask the question because I know people are asking, what do those projections look like in terms of the shortcomings for the city of Saginaw? When we look at 2020, what do we have a ballpark figure that we would be looking at in terms of what numbers would be coming from that $52 million for year number 1? Because I guess there's a 4-year period. So year number 1, what would those shortcomings look like? I think you said you completed with year 1.
We have a draft. We are still waiting for the final rules, but our draft numbers are about $4.5 to $5 million in that range.
Okay, $4.5 to $5 million. Okay, and where would those types of shortcomings come from? Like what are the areas of the city government that this $4.5 to $5 million shortcoming would come from? Where do we find those at?
Well, you're looking at the formula, and I don't have the formula in front of me, but it takes all of your sources of revenue, property tax, income tax, grants, different things like that. You put that into your formula base, and then you calculate out what the difference between 2019 and your current year, and it does have built-in rates of increases as well.
Okay, I think if anybody out there is listening like me, I'm an inquiring mind, Tim. My question is if the city of Saginaw is going to receive funds for a shortcoming in something like property taxes, does that mean that they're going to be paid for maybe taxes that were not received, that may have been allocated but not received during 2020?
Well, that probably isn't going to apply so much to Saginaw because we have a tax cap. Our more significant loss is probably going to be income taxes and use funds and fees and things like that. We're unique in that we do have a property tax cap in Saginaw, so we have limited general fund property tax revenue in the first place.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because I would have never thought about it. I don't know what everyone else is thinking. I would have never thought about the fact that since people are not working, income tax are not levied. Therefore, the city is going to be short a portion of taxes for that purpose. So thank you for clarifying that. Now, on to what we are looking for. There's been a lot of speculation in terms of what we can use these dollars for, what ARPA is for. It is the big dream, dream a big dream. Let's make something great happen. What exactly can these funds be used for, Tim? And I know that there is still some regulation in terms of what exactly the fallout is totally, but as of now, what is your understanding that we can use these funds for?
Well, are you talking about just generally? Or
yeah, generally.
Revenue?
Yeah.
Generally, there are a number of uses that we could eventually use the funds for. There is a designation, and it's similar to the language in the revenue law. So the description is COVID-19 expenditures or negative economic impacts of COVID-19, including assistance to small business, households, and hard-hit industries and economic recovery. And also investments in water, sewer, broadband infrastructure. So when you dig down into the negative economic impacts of COVID-19, you could have a lot of various expenditures in there. And we know there are certain ones are eligible. There are other ones that once council starts allocating funds, then we'll have to research further. And as we mentioned at a previous council meeting, we're going to do our research, and we're going to work with probably an accounting firm or consulting firm to do that research. We're not going to count on the fact that maybe some other local units are spending funds a certain way. We want to make sure that we're doing everything the right way. So we're going to be studious when we allocate these funds.
All right, Tim, I want to ask, we were talking about the allocation of funds. There's two questions that come to mind. The first question is, there was a request or desire to wait till the fall came in order to handle these funds. I want you to be able to share with the people, why did you put that? Why does it appear that was put on hold until the fall instead of, I think, July, or whenever this was initially talked about? And then secondly, you said that there's a time when the city hall will begin to disperse funds. If we could find out what that date is, and how does someone that's interested in being a part of that process get involved? So the first question is, what was the reason for us waiting till the fall to get those things going? The second question is, when the city begins to disseminate funds, when are we looking? What's a typical target date?
So we didn't start taking input or planning immediately, because when the legislation came out early summer, like you said, there were no rules, general rules. We had the legislation, so we had these categories. We were waiting for the interim final rules, which I think came out in either late June or early July. And then we had a comment period where we did submit some comments to our legislators. So we wanted to work through a lot of that in the first place. And I think that's really what was encouraged by pretty much any financial organization or the state of Michigan, to take your time with this to make sure you do it right. So that's why we were giving time to work through some of these things first before we had our strategic planning session, which was in September. And when you talk about when funds could be allocated to certain projects or organizations, I think that's a varying time frame because it depends on what the expenditure is. At this point, council has not allocated any ARPA funds to a project or a category level that's been identified by city council. And that's probably our next big step as a city, is to allocate those funds into the categories that were determined by council at our strategic planning session. And I think right now, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. And you think right now, continue. I want to continue.
Right now, we're at a point where we're probably have got a lot of input from the public. I'm bringing a document to council about forming another advisory group, like a citizens advisory group for ARPA funds. So that will hopefully be set up in the next few weeks or months. And then I want council to approve a resolution to allocate funds based on those categories. And I think their council is probably the one to talk to. I'd send that back to the mayor on a time frame when we think council will allocate those funds.
Okay, awesome. Now, Mayor Moore, you have been, I think, receiving the tide and the wind and the storms on this entire ARPA fund thing. What is the biggest misconception that you're hearing as it relates to what these ARPA funds are for, or what it's all about?
You know, Kareem, there are so many myths about what we can spend for, but the problem is that what some people want to spend it for is not allowable. And so I was in on the very first call, and so we were told by Dan Kildee to take our time and to wait for the ruling and not to jump hastily and to start spending money. So a lot of the myths that's out there, I really wish people would ask council. And if they're not sure, they could always contact someone at City Hall, and we can give them some clear information on what the ARPA dollars can and cannot. And there's some things that I don't know what it can be used for. That's why I gave the mic to Tim and told Tim, yeah. You know, if I don't know, I will find out. But it's the myth. And for the city residents, there is a process. If we had an open house, we had open sessions where people could come and literally talk to us and tell us what they'd like to see. Anybody who's interested in doing something to get the ARPA funds, I encourage them to send a one-page cover letter about what they do, because then we could possibly bring you in for an interview to see if you meet or your agency meets the guidelines. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, I think I agree with what the mayor's saying. That was the intent of having the sessions, and we're always open to hear questions or more input about what these funds could be used for.
All right, now, Mayor, you threw a lot out there, and there's a lot of people that are going to be coming back to hear what you just said. Now, you said that if there's someone who is interested in having a portion of these funds allocated to them for whatever it is that they're saying, that you want them to send a cover letter to City Council. Is this what we're saying?
They can send it to the office, and when it gets to the office, we'll all get it. If they just send it to the manager's office, Tim, is that okay with you? If they send it to the manager's office.
Tim, I'm glad you're not on video, because I could imagine the look on your face right now. Yeah. So sending a cover letter in, and I appreciate you guys clarifying this pathway, because I think a lot of people were thinking, and I'll tell you, whenever there is no information or we're not hearing what's going on, the thought is always going to be for most of us that this money is going to be not talked about, and then when we finally hear about it, it'll be gone. And it'll go to quote unquote the usual suspects. And I thank you guys for being transparent about this process. So if I'm interested and I think, hey, I have something that I think these ARPA funds could be used for, I can then send a cover letter. And in that cover letter, what should they include to either of you, to Tim or to Mayor Moore? What should be included in this cover letter and let's figure out where we need to address it.
I'd like to see what it is they want to do.
Okay.
New starting agencies, we know, is a no-no. You have to be a group that can sustain itself. Now, there may be some people that have some new ideas. It may not take that long. Submit. Tell us what you are, who you are, and what you're looking for. Just give us a general statement, because you've got to be brought in so that we can sit down and interview you. It is not just because you want to do something, we're going to give money.
There's
That's
a vetting process. So you're saying that
right.
Your idea and the
sense.
individuals have to be vetted. I think that makes a lot of sense. Too many times we've given away, just written checks to folks, and we don't even know they can execute what it is we've written them a check for.
I want to thank Tim and Madam Mayor for explaining to us why the delay was happening, because for months we talked about this whole thing and we wondered what is going on. And I'm glad they both explained what the delay was. I think a lot of us appreciate that now.
Now I want to talk about one of the, because Tim, you and I had an opportunity. We probably talked about maybe about good 20 minutes at the city planning meeting. And you were able to give some clarity to some things, because I'll tell you, optically, I was like, what in the world just happened to us here today? If one of you could take some time to just really explain during that plenary session, when you guys had your consultant come in, I'm not sure if he was from Lansing or wherever, and there was a meeting that took place. It appeared as though the city council turned their backs to the citizens and began to have discussions in the middle of what's going on. And for me, it kind of blew my mind. But Tim, after speaking with you and you kind of saying, hey, this is a process that has to take place and it has to be in public forum, I just need you guys to just please bring some clarity to what exactly took place during that session. What was that about? And then that little special session where I think a lot of people were angered and felt like they were being disenfranchised from the process. I think it would be good to clear that up if we can bring some clarity to that.
Kareem, what happened there was we got information from X amount of people. We took what they said and we categorized it. We've been talking about buckets.
Mm-hmm.
We've been saying that we want to take the money and divide it into buckets. And so we just developed the buckets so that we can present it, so that when we all get together, we're not just going here, there, everywhere. So that was not, if citizens felt disrespectful, I'm so sorry. That was not the intent. That is how the process goes. We meet, it's an open forum, and we were literally discussing the things that citizens wanted to see done. For example, cutting down trees, fixing stuff. All of that kind of stuff we talked in public. We talked in public. And so that everybody could see, we hear what you're saying, and we do want to address it. Now, let's put it in a bucket.
Okay.
Parks and recreation, the kids, put it in a bucket.
I'll tell you what was good about that session, because I was offended at first. I'm gonna be very honest. Mayor Moore, we call a spade a spade. We're straight shooters. And then I said, you know what? Let me not be offended, and let me take this as an opportunity to understand and learn it. So I pulled you aside, Tim Morales, and you had no idea who I was. You didn't know me from a can of paint, but you took the time to really kind of explain what Mayor Moore has said here today. And what was great, because I had never seen the city actually sit down and go through. And when you're talking about these buckets, all of the ideas that have been kind of like thrown on the wall from different communities and different sectors of the population about what they thought needed to happen in the city of Saginaw, we actually had an opportunity to sit while the consultant actually took you all through the process of brainstorming which of these ideas can be put into the same quote unquote bucket, so that when we put these things together, we have an idea that we might talk about public safety, but in public safety, there may be an element of youth programming. So it was interesting for the first time, for those of you who are listening, to kind of sit through the process. And so I allowed myself not to be offended and to walk away, but I stayed through the process, and I'm patting myself on the back right now. So many times we get offended and we say, hey, we know what's getting ready to happen, but I did not know what's happening. But I want to just take a couple questions from some individuals that have there. Jeffrey Bulls, he says there's nothing in the guidelines that prevents new orgs to get money If anything, the guidelines allow for funds to be used to get new orgs up to speed to then get funds. Could one of you all address that?
So there isn't
Jim, I'm gonna let
anything
you handle it.
Thank you, Mary.
Yes. So there's nothing that I know of in the regulations that say that a new organization cannot receive funds. However, what is emphasized repeatedly, I think, from our discussions with the state of Michigan and Government Finance Officers Association, our legislators, is we want to have, if we're going to utilize these funds for programs, please look at sustainability. So does an organization have a track record for sustainability? One thing we don't want to have is have a great program established for 4 years that we fund with ARPA funds that's gone in 2027. Potentially, you could have some short-term programs like that are by new organizations or established organizations or partnerships, but we really want to focus on that sustainability aspect, especially if it's a great program, because we know that if there's a good program that people like and the ARPA funds are gone, and I don't think we're going to have another allocation in a few years, people don't want to see that program go away. They're going to look to the city to say, how can it be sustained? And I think we need to be able to say, well, we did look at this allocation and this application, and we believe the organization could be sustainable long-term and provide that service to the public. So that's one of the things that we should look at.
Okay, now, so Tim, so really, if someone's looking to come in, they should not only have in their proposal, this is what we need these funds for, say, for the first 3-4 years. But in addition, this is how we will continue to fund what we're hoping to start with these funds that are allocated towards us. So sustainability being the factor means that we're not going to do a one-stop shop where you have a good feeling and it's an event, an experience, but how can we create opportunities for programming, for youth, for organizations that they can continually sustain the work that has been introduced through the ARPA plan?
Yep, that's a great summary. The sustainability aspect, and also the what we really would love to see in some of these proposals is partnerships. So can you replicate it throughout the city? Can your organization work with this other organization and provide similar services, or you provide similar services? How can you work together? I think that leveraging that we can have is going to increase the impact that we have on the population. And that's what these funds are supposed to provide, a big, long-lasting impact. I think that's the long-term goal for this legislation.
Well, okay, I'm going to say to both of you all, while I have you right now, the key word is collaboration. My request would be whatever funds that are going to be disseminated, any organization that receives these funds, whatever entity, there should be in the program, in the process, in the formulation of this idea, something where collaboration must be a mandate. I think that we've got to work together cohesively instead of having 50 different ideas that pop up all over the city that are doing the same thing. I think collaboration is key. So I want to make sure that I get my 2 cents out there. Candace Thomas, who's also listening, said that she hopes that we research to make more informed decisions that are driven by data specific to Saginaw's needs that will be sustainable versus just ideas. Thank you, Mayor Moore, for your leadership. And I know that that's one of the things that I heard. One other question: what's so different about ARPA is that there's very few strings and that local municipalities can create their own process. You don't need to be a C3, 501c3 to get funds if they create a process that allows for not only establishing the org, but new ones that address gaps that are missed by established orgs, major nonprofits. And so what they're saying is, and I think that you guys address that. Yes, you don't have to be an existing, or you can be a new entity that exists. But once again, if there is a spirit of collaboration that's in what it is, the idea that you're presenting, and you see that there are gaps, and we all understand gaps in how they operate. So if there's a gap, you see that the you know, United Way is doing this, the Saginaw Schools is doing this, but there's this whole lane that is a gap. That's exactly what we mean in terms of collaborate. Let's get in and fill the gaps so that we can plug the holes so that our young people can be blessed by the things that come into our community. I'm just going to give you guys a couple seconds because I know that I'm not. There's some other things that I want to talk about. But Mayor Moore, is there anything that you would like to leave our citizens with before we take this commercial break that you think that they need to know, and something that you would like to set straight as it relates to what we're doing moving forward with ARPA? I want to give you a couple seconds to just go ahead and do that.
I just want the citizens to know that we are not going to decide anything without coming forth with community leaders. I welcome anyone. Collaboration. That's all I hear at every meeting I go to. We've got to collaborate. You emphasize that so well. And for our citizens, if you have an idea, I'm saying to you now, you need to let us know. Because once the decisions are made and you didn't put in, then I can't be held accountable for you not putting in. Everybody will get a shot. This is not a name recognition, who's who. No, every citizen, anybody that puts something in will have an opportunity to present in front of us. Or we'll look and see who we can use and who we can't use. So I'm encouraging the citizens. You talk and you say you want stuff done. Now is the time. Now is the time. I know I've got constituents who say, no, I don't believe that. Shake me at my word. Take me at my word. I said it from day one. The money is going to be spent the way it's supposed to be spent because we don't want to have to pay any money back. Saginaw does not have any money to pay any money back. So yes, please, citizens, if you have something that you think you want to see done, you can always call. If you call the office, they'll give me the message. Trust me. And I will call. I do call back.
You know, Mayor, I'll give you an idea. I think it would be amazing if the city council could schedule a pitch competition for organizations that are interested in doing it. Allow the community either virtually, I mean, because, you know, COVID is a real thing here, but allow the community to come in virtually to be able to see what's going on, and then allow the community to have some say into, you know, what they think is good, and then you take it and vet it through the process. I think that would be something amazing to consider as we're looking to this, and that kind of levels the playing field, because that means that everyone has to come in with their ducks in a row. We have to have our alliances, our partnerships, everything set up, and then the community has a voice in that process. And I think that whenever we hire civic leaders and we're doing the best that we can, getting community consensus and backing helps us to go a long way. I certainly thank you for that. And Tim Morales, Mr. Tim Morales, our city manager, is there anything that we need to know about this process? Or is there anything that we need to know about timing or deadlines that may be impactful to those who are interested in being a part of the ARPA fund dissemination process? Did we lose Tim?
Well, let me say this.
I'm sorry.
We have not stopped. We still are planning some more gatherings for the community. So, Karina, I like that idea. Me and you could talk about how we set it up.
Yep.
But I like that idea. But we're not done. Just because we had 2 sessions does not mean we're done. We're not done. Mm-hmm. We know we got work to do.
I think that's great. And, you know, I'd gone a couple of times for new startups, Mayor. And when you go before a venture capital fund and you're looking for funding for your program, your idea, or your project, that's exactly what it is. It is almost like a Shark Tank situation, and you're going in and you're outlaying the process, the players, the keys. What are your expectations in terms of your ability to sustain? I think all of that becomes very important. So thank you for listening to us, Mayor Moore. But I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Morales, really quickly. Is there anything that the people, the community really needs to know as it relates to this ARPA? Are there deadlines or timing that is essential, that makes that's impertinent to the city citizens?
We don't have any time restrictions at this point. We do realize that the legislation has a sunset, so we know we have that period out there for expenditures. But right now, we don't have a date where we say, okay, you have to apply by this date, and otherwise you won't get funds. I think you put together a good process, like a pitch type of thing. And I think that Saginaw County is doing something similar to that, and they have been. We will potentially do that when we get to the point where we have categories. And I do want to thank you too, Kareem, for talking with me at the strategic planning session and taking that time to figure out what council was doing, because as the mayor said, they were putting together those categories or buckets, whatever phrase you want to use. But we wanted to do that with the public watching, so that it's transparent how we came to this point, and we'll continue to do that. And the one other point I would make is I'm really grateful for the council for participating. We had great participation in that planning event, and to broaden the scope of what people are thinking about, they did identify 5 categories: youth and family, neighborhood preservation and beautification, health, economic development, and housing. So those are the categories that council is considering for expenditures for these funds. And as you saw in the planning session, there's very broad uses within those funds, and there isn't. Public safety and fire prevention was one of the highest points in our survey, but you'll notice that's not necessarily a category, and that's because council in their discussion talked about how public safety is broad throughout these 5 categories. Yeah. And that's, I think, a great point that they made. We don't necessarily need a public safety category, but if you can improve conditions for youth and family and preserve and beautify neighborhoods, that's going to have an impact on public safety.
Well, Tim, I certainly appreciate your time and attention. And I just want to say a shout out really quick. Tim, what is your vision for the city of Saginaw? Like, when you think of the city of Saginaw, and I guess I could have asked the mayor this question as well, but when you think of the city of Saginaw and you see what ARPA presents or has the opportunity to bring to the city, what is your overall vision? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's an important question. I think council is starting really to have that discussion. My view is you have to have a directed strategy with these funds. And one thing that we should look at is increasing our population in the city. And we just talked about this at our city, school, county liaison meeting as well. If we can have a goal to get our city back above that 50,000 threshold, we lost a lot of population in this last census.
Yeah.
We were around 44,000. That has a significant impact on the city of Saginaw for a long-term future with block grant funds, other opportunities that cities over 50,000 have. So how do we get our population back over that 50,000 threshold? And I think that the ARPA funds are a way that we can do that by focusing on these categories that council has selected: economic development, small business, manufacturing, health, pandemic relief, and healthcare opportunities for our citizens, neighborhood preservation and beautification. How do we make it more affordable to live here? How do we make our neighborhoods revitalized and make the housing available? And youth programs. How can we invest in our programs in something that's sustainable and cooperative, where we can have it continue beyond ARPA and provide that for kids? That's an incentive to move to Saginaw and continue to live in Saginaw in our community.
Well, Tim, I'm going to tell you, when I looked at other cities across the country that have gone through a transformative process and really have kind of been able to bring back, the first thing that comes to mind is St. Louis. One of the keys to that process, and I see that we have a lot of living in quarters and building and things that are happening in terms of living in apartments, but the key to it is 18-hour living. We've got to create a plan. And for those young entrepreneurs that are out there who are part of this process and are listening, how can I get involved with where the city is going? 18-hour living. What does that mean? We need grocery stores. We need convenience stores. Mm-hmm. We need things that people are going to utilize in their 18 hours of living. The other time they're going to be sleeping. So it's important for us to make sure that if you want to get in the game and Candace Thomas asked the question, should interested parties align their ideas with those key categories? And the answer is absolutely. Tim, I'm going to allow you to go at this time. I want to thank you for your time and attention. One thing that I'm going to say is that we need to get you more on this KISS WTLZ station. I know that you do a regular thing with WSGW. I have a show on that station as well, but we need to make sure that you're here because you're hitting a particular population that does not get to often hear your voice. And so I want to thank you for your time and your attention to this matter and coming on to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen. Thank you so very much.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Moore. I don't know if you've already gone. I released you, but you guys continue the good work. We're praying for you. We're continually hoping that greater things are coming ahead, and keep your nose to the grindstones and make great things happen. Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we thank you so much, Mayor. I didn't know that you were gone, but thank you so very much.
No, I'm not gone. Thanks so much, Kareem. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. All right, Tim. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. We'll talk about what's on my mind. We're flipping things around just a little bit. Let's talk about what's on my mind after this commercial break.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Save on your next project during Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2021. Update your home with a Mastercraft door built just for you. Start a bathroom remodel and save on a new vanity. Update your kitchen with the largest in-stock appliance selection to take home today at the lowest prices. Menards' last 11% rebate sale of 2021 is good through Wednesday, November 24th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
At Ulta Beauty, we know getting ready for the holidays is what makes the holidays the holidays. That shimmering anticipation in the air, lighting the room with scents of the season, setting the perfect table. But now, it's time for you to get ready with the red lip that says, "It's so good to see you," and that gold shadow that makes you sparkle. So let's get ready to celebrate more, because it's moments like these that truly make up the holiday season. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad. So we're using Babbel.
Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
RocketGrabPlus.com.
The days of paying full price are over. And at RocketGrabPlus.com, we are here always giving you the deals that you need. You can get tons of half-off deals going on right now from Uplift Creative Center, Joyce's Purple Palette, Woody's Hot Dogs, King's Fish and More, and the Hamptons Boutique Tanning and Salon. Half off? Yeah, it's true. And it's all at RocketGrabPlus.com.
RocketGrabPlus.com.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Hey, this is your guy, Kareem Bowen, and we just had a good conversation with our city manager and our city mayor. And, you know, I've gotten a couple text messages already like, hey. So I want to make sure that we get out here if there are any questions or concerns. And my thing is this. We ask the questions, and when we ask these questions, they go on record in terms of what their position is, what their thoughts are, that kind of thing. And so once we hear what they say, we have to hold them accountable. That's exactly the way this happens. So there is no espionage, undercover, covert operations. The fact of the matter is, and that's why it's so important to get their opinions and allow them to state where they are and how they feel and what their thoughts are. So you guys have been given a lot of information as it relates to these ARPA funds. And this is the most conversation that I've had with our leaders in terms of what's going on instead of outside entities telling us what can happen. Right. And I think that we have to be aware of both. I think that we need to know what other communities are doing. I've been looking at what's been happening down in Lansing and the city of Detroit. So it's important for us to stay plugged in with what we see happening. But we also have to give a listening ear to those who are leaders in our community. They've outlined a plan. And Rob, I don't know about you, but I can't think of a more straightforward way or plan of action than what they laid out. What are your thoughts?
I thought it very clearly. They laid it out very clearly for me to understand. And hey, you have to be listening to it. So hopefully when they hear the recording of this, they'll get a better idea and pass it on. It's better than just assuming everything. Now that we have it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, we know what's going on. And I like it when our politicians are straightforward to us.
And so
what it is.
It is what it is, and so it's recorded. It's on audio. It's on video. It's on social media. You can come back and listen to it in a couple of days. It'll be on KISS WTLZ's website.
Right.
It is here, and the key thing is we've got to make sure that we always want to police our leaders, but sometimes we've got
checks
to be
and balances. That's what we're supposed to do,
and that's what we're supposed to do. But we also have to check ourselves as well.
Of course.
And I believe, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. We've got to make sure that we stop move from complaint to answer, that we move from, having issues to solving issues. And I think that's one really cool thing. So my question to those of you who are listening, excuse me, Rob, is that how can we collaborate together? What are some ideas that we can collaborate around, that we can bring to the table? I'm always open for a great collaborative process, especially with those who are willing to roll up their sleeves and go to work. There are a number of individuals in our community who have amazing skill sets that have the ability to, build out and create dynamic partnerships. So they said, hey, put it before them. Let us get this information. Give us a cover letter with what your plans are. Put together who are the people that you're going to collaborate with. How are you going to be self-sufficient? That means sustainable over time after this initial implementation of funds.
When we speak about cover letter, we want to make sure that what the mayor and the city manager are asking for is not for you just to send a sentence in. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what your credentials are, and why in black and white, A, B, C, D order, you think these funds should be used for certain things. That way you'll get more attention and be just like a resume.
Absolutely.
You're talking about yourself here, say, hey, I have an idea to build an airport in the middle of Saginaw. Tell us why you want the airport there, what it can do for Saginaw.
All right, Rob, and I think that's clear. So what should be included in a cover letter or a proposal, either of the two? First of all, you should have your name on it, the name of the organization that is requesting the funds, who it's going to be to. So in this case, it would be the city manager or the city council. They said just send it to the office. They'll get it. You should also have an overview. What is your overview? What is the plan that you have, the idea that you have that you're brewing in your head that you think that can make it happen? So put together that big picture plan. I think that you need to break it down. What are the steps for implementation? This is what I want to do. I want to build, a playscape for kids. This is phase 1. This is phase 2. This is phase 3. You break those steps down and you share. Then you have to put who are the parties, okay? Who's going to be the lead on this thing? What are the other collaborative entities that are going to be a part of this program, this process? What roles are each individual taking in this process? Then you also want to include in there, what are these ballpark figures? Don't say you need $30,000, but you have not done the research to figure out how much it's going to actually cost. So it would be great to get some bids, some ideas on what it's going to cost. What is the labor going to be on this thing? How long is it going to be?
You spun how to write a business plan in layman form.
Absolutely.
Business plan for dummies.
So how are you going to maintain if it's outdoors and it has to be cut? When you put something out there, now somebody's got to cut it and take care of it. Is there a plan for taking care or the upkeep of this particular thing? And then you also need to talk about how you're going to sustain. Yes, business plan, Candace Thomas. How are you going to sustain this process? And then you submit this thing. And I think that if you do that, their investigative process, if they're doing due diligence on their end, they should have another set of questions that they're going to then send to you to begin that engagement process. But let's make sure that what we present, let's stop doing this. Let's type it up. Don't put anything in writing. Please, those who are listening to us today, if you are part of this Straight Talk audience, let's not have a single proposal from the village that is not typewritten. Okay, I want to make sure that it's typed. Let's make sure that someone proofs it. Let's make sure that it's also in sequential order. All right, we want to make sure that we get those things out there, get it done. If you have any questions, always shoot me a message. I will make sure that we can help you put those things in alignment. There's a lot that I am thinking in my mind as it relates to what our community needs. We all have great ideas. Let's come together and maybe we can pool these, ask for one set of resources that is able to fund a whole project of the things that we're talking about. I think it's also important. We had the city mayor and the city manager on today, but I think that it's also important. I'm going to bring Dr. Roberts in, Dr. Ramont Roberts, because there is a whole nother, $64 million.
Ramont Roberts, our superintendent of schools.
Absolutely. Our superintendent of schools that are, I think that our educational areas are going to 60, 64, 46, whatever it is. I don't know what the numbers are, but we're going to make sure that we bring those in because I know a lot of you have ideas for our schools. And I'm going to just read this really quick. Mr. Jeff, you always keep us going. Those buckets are okay, but there are gaps there too. Those buckets don't address immediate need, the actual rescue and the American Rescue Plan. They've had this money for months. In my opinion, there should have been an immediate expenditure of $2 million to address immediate needs due to the pandemic, housing, instability, evictions, etc. Then you work on process for the long-term needs of the community. Well, that's your opinion, and I appreciate your opinion. And I, this is Straight Talk. We'll give it to you straight with no chaser, no filter. All right, we got to have a real quick session. And Jeff, give me a holler tomorrow. I love this guy. I love having conversation. He makes me think. We got to have a conversation about what took place. Family. We got to talk about this. And so the last couple of minutes, this Kyle Rittenhouse deal. Oh my goodness. What are your thoughts? I mean, are you about I'm not surprised though, Rob.
No.
I don't know about you all. I was listening to the pundits and I'm looking at the situation. There was no surprise whatsoever. I think that what's interesting is this. Those white individuals, those families of the slain victims, they weren't being able to be called victims in court, which is crazy because if I got shot and I'm dead, I am a victim, regardless of how you put it. But what they realized really quick is that when you fight for a black man's cause, when you fight for black man's freedom, you may get treated like a black man. And people may have issues with that, but they got the same type of criminal justice system that we see happening each and every day. And because they were willing to stand up, the verdict was a virtue signal to white people: help black people at your own peril. That's right. If you help us with our agendas, with our issues and our will, you will get the same type of treatment. Our criminal justice system becomes your criminal justice system. And so that's what we saw. And I'm not surprised about the outcome of what we saw take place. This is horrific. Now we're turning our heads to Atlanta with this Ahmaud Arbery situation. Y'all stay tuned because this is not going to be pretty if this comes back not guilty. I want you guys to stay tuned. We're going to have more conversation. Hopefully that comes through this week and we'll get it all to you on next week. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. Grace and peace.
You've been listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen.